All right, guys, we got another mat chat with Coach Corey here. This time we're talking about the difference between street jiu-jitsu versus sport jiu-jitsu versus what might be sort of in the middle with MMA. So, and where that falls in. You're dealing with strikes, but you're not having to worry about somebody whipping out a knife or multiple attackers coming at you. So, take it away.
Definitely. So guys, the cool thing about jiu-jitsu is it really does transcend all the different playing fields, okay? From sport jiu-jitsu, where we're dealing with a very specific set of rules in regards to grappling, to self-defense jiu-jitsu, where it could be on the street, it could be multiple attackers, there could be weapons, and then of course for the MMA or Vale Tudo portion of it, which would be more of like extreme full contact fighting, but within some sort of rule set, okay? So the first thing with sport jiu-jitsu is you have so much at your disposal. If you watch modern jiu-jitsu, there's so many different avenues you can be. Like, just because you say you're a jiu-jitsu fighter or a jiu-jitero, all that means, that can mean so many things these days. There's leg lockers, there's wrestlers, there's guard passers, there's closed guard players, there's half guard players. Then when you come to the gi, you have lapel players, worm guard. You have all these crazy different things that exist in this bubble.
Worm guard, I've never heard of that.
Worm guard, yeah, it's a crazy lapel guard. It's nuts. I'll definitely show it to you. But all these things kind of exist in a bubble because everyone is so good at the fundamentals. Everyone knows shrimp. Everyone knows buck and roll. Everyone knows armbar, triangle. These things are all fundamental now. So now you can get really specialized and you can actually get to these really wacky fields and different guards. So with jiu-jitsu, you definitely have like the utmost freedom as a grappling artist because you can do so many different things to achieve the goal of submission, okay? Where it takes a change, okay, is when we get in self-defense. A big thing about the self-defense jiu-jitsu is you don't have all these crazy things playing anymore. Not that sport jiu-jitsu techniques and submissions and sweeps cannot work in the street. It's that it might not be applicable to the situation you're in. Again, there could be multiple attackers. Now, if there's multiple attackers, I'm kicking 3 dudes in the groin and then I'm choking the 1 dude out. Like, that's what's happening. 3 dudes are going to be on the ground crying and then I'm choking 1 guy out. But that's what you have to keep in mind is if I go to the ground with 1 person, I can get hit. And this has happened to me before. Actually, it has. Luckily, I was young and had a nice iron chin and got up and took care of the gentleman. But not everyone's like that, right? You want to make sure that in self-defense jiu-jitsu, you're not playing anything too wacky. Rather, you're sticking to a very top position-minded game. Meaning, if I, God forbid, if I do go to the guard, or I do go to my closed guard, the ground, on my back, I better be hitting a sweep right to get to the top. Okay, in a street fight, you got to stay on top. It's not fun to roll on cement and gravel. I've done it. It's not fun. You want to be on top, maintain pressure, be able to strike if you need to, be able to stop someone with any submission or choke, but having control because you don't know if this person's pulling out a knife, a gun, whatever stupid thing they want to do. You want to make sure you're on top and knowing about it. Now, what's very similar from there is the MMA, right? Same thing. We want to be a top-oriented player. Why? Because someone can hit us. Okay, they can punch us, elbow us. Again, not that you can't pull guard in MMA. I did it in almost every one of my MMA fights, and everyone I pulled the guard on, I'm pretty sure regretted that. Like, they didn't like that. And you can do a lot of damage, especially MMA-wise. Like, thinking the guard, it's not just submissions. Now that you're my guard, I can elbow you in the face. I can headbutt you. I can elbow the back of your neck. I can eye gouge you. Like, again, that's more self-defense. But I can do all these things from my back, but it's not ideal. Why? This person can put my head into the cage and then land punches. That's not fun. Same idea as the self-defense. I want to get to the top. I want to control my opponent's limbs. I want to make sure I'm doing the utmost damage to end the fight. Now, of course, in MMA, it's not like self-defense where I can just control and wait till the police arrive. I have to end it, which in that kind of mindset, I would either be ground and pounding, using grounded strikes, or I would be going for some sort of finishing submission or choke, so I could win the match. But the big ideas, guys, in jiu-jitsu is like, it's more of a game, more of a sport, right? It's an athletic. While MMA is also an athletic and a sport, I consider MMA and self-defense like almost one in the two, just minus the weapons and multiple attackers. The idea is still being, I have to use my jiu-jitsu to not get hurt. I have to survive, okay? That's what I actually appreciate most of my time being in martial arts is just testing my jiu-jitsu out in MMA. A lot of coaches use hypotheticals. I've actually been there. I've actually used my guard when someone's been trying to hit me and putting my head into the cage and trying to elbow me. And you learn, I feel like in that way, almost how to deal with the worst of the worst, because if we're standing up and we're striking, we're pretty even. You put me on the ground and you're hitting me, it's not so even. You're definitely in charge. So if I can learn how to use my jiu-jitsu to get to a position where I can now be on top and be the one at large, that's what I want to do. So that's just the big difference, guys. Jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, utmost freedom. MMA and self-defense, you're looking more at survival and looking at some sort of control and some sort of finish. That would be the big differences.
I like that.
Yeah.
A couple things I just got to throw out there and see your response, because of course this is where you get to. And actually, before I do, I'll just say sometimes, and you tell me if you would agree with this. I kind of look at like sport jiu-jitsu is just a bigger piece of the whole. So it's like,
yes,
for the street, it's not like do you do sport jiu-jitsu or do you do street jiu-jitsu? It's like you know, the skill set you need to play the game is so much bigger when you're dealing with other jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah, very specialized.
But it's not like the core skills that you need to be good at jiu-jitsu aren't going to work on the street. It's not like you got to train a different jiu-jitsu.
Correct. Yeah. No. I mean, an armbar works on the mat, works on the street. Cross collar choke works on a gi and works on a hoodie. I mean, it all works. It's just, again, you got to find out what is applicable for the situation you're most in.
Yeah. And there's this YouTube channel I like to watch where they show real footage from like security cameras of dealing with stuff. And one of the things I really appreciate is when people were in situations that involved a knife or multiple attackers, it was usually the person that had some grappling understanding of how to like hold the person. They might not be on the ground doing jiu-jitsu, but they understand how the body moves. And so they're able to like move the person around to get out and stuff. So even though it's still the principles, and I thought, oh, well, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's you know, it's all grappling. It's all even in the stand-up phase, even if we haven't hit the ground yet, all that is still grappling. It's still jiu-jitsu. You know, I can arm drag you and hold your back and control you there. If you have a knife, I can try to arm drag you in 2-on-1 and hold it against your body. All these things still, you know, it's still grappling. It's just grappling, standing up. Yeah.
So here's the question I throw out there. What about finger jab? What if I just poke you in the eye and strike you in the groin?
I always say, I'm like, whatever there is in jiu-jitsu, whatever can be used against me, eye pokes and groin strikes, I can also use, but I can also use jiu-jitsu. No, I mean, I've been there, guys. I've been in MMA fights where I've taken thumb to the eye and didn't call a timeout for a ref. You know, I just pulled guard and started working for submissions. That's the thing, is so much of this jiu-jitsu, especially when going back to the survival thing, you know, like if you're poked in the eye and can still do your jiu-jitsu based off your body's muscle memory, like that's fantastic. That means that eye jab didn't stop you. Same thing with the groin strike. You know, you get hit with a groin strike, you might have to, you know, curl up, you might have to get into sort of guard situation, but you can survive, bide your time, and get your breath back so you can, again, survive.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then there's always pulling the worm guard.
There's always pulling the worm guard.
Nobody knows about because it's kept underground. Huh? Dad joke level.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's good. That's a good jiu-jitsu.
Awesome, guys.